Thank you very much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure and a great honor to be invited to comment on what is obviously a very rich conference. Perhaps I should just correct. I have to say that what I do is I direct at the moment the Forum on Higher Education, Research and Knowledge, which is a particular project. It's not the division of higher education at UNESCO. It is an intersectoral project crossing the higher education work, the science and the social science sectors on knowledge management, and it is funded by the Swedish International Development Agency, and its particular aim is to promote and to know more about knowledge systems, which of course embrace higher education, science, technology, innovation and social development. So it's an intersectoral project, and it brings together primarily researchers, of course, but also the interface with policymakers, institutional leaders, and of course civil society. In commenting on the excellent work of Group 1, there is really very little I can add. Who is going, perhaps we could have the next slide? Yeah, thank you. You have obviously got a very deep and excellent analysis of what is going on in the knowledge society today. What I would like to do this morning is actually to give you a set of examples which I think further relate to what has been said. The knowledge gap is extremely grave, and while you can sometimes go into esoteric detail, the big picture is that if knowledge continues to be unequally distributed, the world is in for even graver problems than it has now. You have touched upon the importance of equity, the two-way flow of knowledge, and of course the challenges for quality and relevance. I'd like to start with a few of the principles that this entails, go on to some examples, and then look at some challenges. I think we have about 20 minutes, is that right? Yeah. Okay. Now, these are all well known to you, but the bottom one is the important thing. We are in a massified higher education system in OECD-type countries and increasingly in countries in the developing world. You have to rethink doctoral education. While it might be nice to enroll in a PhD in a subject that is really of great interest to you, and of course if you're not interested in it, you're never going to get into it, let alone finish it, there has to be some sort of new approach to why you would do these degrees, how many people you need, and in what fields. So this is something that is just a result of a massified system. Now, I need not say much about the importance of knowledge today, the knowledge dividend, and as I just said, these systems, countries which are having sustained growth, have systems of higher education, of research and development, which lead to innovation, and of stability in their social and economic situations which permit growth. Countries which do not have these things working are usually subject to very serious they have problems with governance, they have instability, and these systems have great difficulty in remaining stable and in growing. Now, what we do is we try to document, both in OECD and middle and low-income countries, what is happening in terms of higher education research and development, including, of course, doctoral education, which is a vital area of this. What are the components of knowledge systems, and how we might anticipate what is going to happen next, because this is very important for countries in their planning. So, where we're talking here is, as you say, intellectual capital, a robust R&D sector, and strong CIT capacity. When countries have this, they're able to progress. If they don't have one of them, they have a huge gap. Now, you're talking about people who are very highly qualified. In any country, rich or poor, medium level, you've got to have a national research capacity which allows them to work and encourages them to stay or to go back. These are the components. You can see them when you look at these slides more carefully. The university, of course, is the hub of this, particularly in middle and low income countries, which don't have the same research structure, infrastructure I mean, as high income countries. Now, today, anywhere in a globalized world, the challenge is, as you have discussed, how to link the global knowledge pool with local applications. That is true everywhere in the world. Okay, so see, these are some of the major challenges ahead, which you have touched upon. I may be just saying them again, or saying them a different way. Assuring excellence in the academy. Question mark, is it brain circulation? Is it brain retention? How is it done? More globally equitable R&D systems. That's not to say I'm against research in the humanities. Just an anecdote, I'm sure you might have read somewhere where the leading business schools in the world teach the tragedies of Shakespeare as the best way to understand the terrible vices of human nature. And in fact, the recent crash would, better than anything else, illustrate how true that is. So the humanities can be taught in very innovative and yet eternally correct manners. But this is, you can say it's a social justice issue, but it's also an issue of enlightened self-preservation. Because unless everybody shares in this to some degree, the gap is going to widen, and that is going to have very negative consequences. What is very important is better ways for research universities to network. You've been talking about this. CIT is a key element for this. But the importance of this activity has never been greater than now, and policymakers absolutely have to address this very shortly. So, we are in, as everybody likes to remind us 100 times a day, an economic crisis. This is going to have effects on us in every way. These are some of the things I think will happen in relation to intellectual capital investment. Governments are going to have to rethink their role in public policy. If private investment in higher education and research diminishes, what is government going to do to fill that gap? What are the implications for things like private universities? How will students be choosing their postgraduate education in this climate? There was a remark, they're going into it because they can't get a job. Is that the right attitude, or is it the only attitude? And if it's the attitude to have, they at least deserve some proper advice about what this choice may imply further down the line. You grow up very early these days. And of course there will be effects on academic mobility in terms of cost, in terms of clinging to jobs which appear to be more secure, etc. And I wonder if are we in a Kondratiyev wave of 7 to 10 to 15 years of change? And if we're going into that, this situation is going to last for some time. So just finally, where do we locate? Where are you locating postgraduate education if you want to build equitable knowledge systems as well as dynamic ones? You have to understand the context in which these systems are operating. This is a very neglected area. But I'd like to finish by just saying, I think for the third time, this is a remarkable moment for academia to reposition itself, to get right into the debate on development. We're going to have a different world. We hope we're going to have a different world. Maybe out of the disaster something better will emerge. And the best people, amongst the best people, to take a leading role is definitely the highly trained intellectual capital that you find in the university and research communities. And I think that this is the moment where they must respond to that challenge wholeheartedly. Thank you very much.